All right, today I'm going to teach you how to pronounce this word. Do you know how to pronounce this word? Photography. Photography. You know, this is a very common mistake all around the world. People pronounce this word wrong. So I'm going to teach you how to pronounce it right. You know, often when I travel to other countries, I see a sign that says no photography. No photography, right? 2 words. Well, it's not 2 words. It's just 1 word. Okay, that's a mistake. You know, sometimes you see words like welcome spelled like this, welcome. Okay, this is a mistake. It's 1 word, not 2 words. Okay, so when you look at this word, I want you to forget about the word photo. Just try to forget it. It's not in this word, okay? So just try to take it out. And first try to say this, tography, tography, okay? Say this with me. Okay, the stress is over there on the first syllable. This isn't a word. We're just imagining that this is a word, okay? Tography, tography. Can you say that? Tography. Okay, now just add the F sound at the beginning. Photography, photography, photography. Okay, now you'll hear there's a little sound in between the F and the T, right? Photography, photography, what's that little sound? Well, that sound is called the schwa sound, okay? Look at that. It's usually represented in English with an upside down E. Sort of a weird looking symbol. It's not a real letter, but it's a real sound. Okay, very often in English words, the vowels, right? You know the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, they often turn into the schwa sound in unstressed syllables. Okay, so take a look at the first syllable there, right? It's the first vowel is O, right? Right? In the word photo, it's photo. We pronounce both O's. But in a word like this, right, the first O, right after the F, well, in the real word, it's a PH, not an F, right? So PHO, that first O turns into a schwa sound because it's not a stressed syllable. If it were stressed, it would be like this, photography, photography, right? Photography, but it's not. It's photography. Okay, so take a look at this A. This A is the same thing. It's a vowel, but it's in an unstressed syllable. So that means it also turns into the schwa sound. Okay, like listen, photography, photography. It's not photography. It's photography. It's a very, very short sound, right? It's not an A sound, it's a schwa sound. Okay, so that's why stress is so important in English pronunciation. Stress, like syllable stress, is more important than pronouncing individual sounds in the word. Okay, if you get the stress wrong, you know, it's very hard to understand someone. I'll give you an example, okay? See the T and the R? In English, the sounds T and R are hard to pronounce, right? In other languages, they pronounce them very differently. Like in India, for example, you hear Indians say the T sound as a back T, like T, right? In my accent, we say T, but they say T. Okay, and the R, that's how I say it, R, they would probably roll the R. Okay, so they might say photography. Okay, now if they get the stress right, imagine there's an Indian person and me. Okay, if the Indian person got the stress right in their accent, and I said it in my accent but got the stress wrong, it would be a lot easier to understand the person from India than it would be me. Okay, so for me, if I get it wrong, let's say I put the stress on a different syllable, photography, photograph, right? That's in my accent, photography. Or let's say I put the stress over here, photography, photography, right? I'm saying the T and the R correct in like North American English. I can't even say it. Photography, okay? Photography. Hey, do you like photography? You'd be like, what? You might not understand me because the whole word, the sound of the word just changes, right? But if the person from India were to say, do you like photograph? Oh, no, I said it wrong. Do you like photography? Do you like photography? Right? Then it would be a lot easier to understand the person from India, even though they might be saying the R and the T in their accent. Okay, so stress is really, really important. It's the most important thing in pronunciation. Okay, so let's make up a word. Okay, look at this word. How would you say this word? How would you pronounce it? It's not a real word. I just made it up. Okay, so anytime you see a word ending in ography, the stress is always over the O. Okay, so how do you think you pronounce this? Well, I'll tell you. It's markography. Markography. Hey, me, markography. Now, what are some other words? Biography. Yeah, biography. Geography. Geography. Those are two, right? It's the same thing. The stress is over the O, right? Biography, geography, markography, discography. You know, all of these words, photography, right? It sort of follows that pattern. Sometimes in English, there's a nice clear pattern. Sometimes there's not a clear pattern, but with words ending in this, then it's always a clear pattern. So we can predict the name, or we can predict the pronunciation of the word. Okay, now if you come across a word in English and you don't know how to pronounce it, you can say, am I saying that right? Am I saying that right? You know, maybe you're reading something in front of your class. If your teacher asks you to read from a book and you see a word you don't know how to pronounce, boy, you might be really nervous, right? How do I pronounce it? Just try your best and then say this after that. Say, am I saying that right? Am I saying that right? Because in English, native English speakers come across words all the time that they've never seen before, right? When I'm reading the news or when I'm reading a book, you know, there are so many words in English that I don't know. So I don't know how to pronounce them. So if I'm in a situation with other people, then I would just say this. Am I saying that right? Am I saying that right? Okay, so I looked up a word on Google, this word here. I have no idea what it means. I just went on Google and I searched for big words in English. I think something like that, big words in English. Okay, and I found this word. Now, I have no idea what it means. I've never seen this word before. Okay, so I don't know how to pronounce it. So, you know, if I was with other people and I had to read this word, I might say, usufruct. Am I saying that right? Usufruct. Am I saying that right? You're not really asking this question to other people. It's more a question you're just asking to yourself. It's a way to acknowledge that you don't know how the word is actually supposed to be pronounced. Maybe it's the first time you're ever seeing the word, right? So for me, this is the first time in my life I've ever seen this word. I have no idea what it means. So I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, but I'll try, right? I don't know, it might be pronounced usufruct. Usufruct. I don't know which syllable gets the stress, right? There are three syllables, right? Usufruct. Usufruct. My guess is that the stress is on the first syllable. I think I'll look it up after making this lesson because I'm curious. But I think the stress is on the first syllable. So that's my prediction. I think it's going to be pronounced usufruct, but it could be pronounced differently. Maybe the stress is over here. Usufruct. Usufruct. I don't think that would be right, but you never know. Usufruct, or maybe ookt. No, I think this U would be a short U sound. I think the first one and maybe the second one are long U sound. It might be usufruct or usufruct. they could both be short U's. I think at least one of them is long. My guess is that at least one of them is long. This one is definitely going to be short. Usufruct. I don't know. How do you think this word is pronounced? My guess is the stress is on the first syllable, and one of them is a long U sound. But try to take a guess, right? And after this lesson, we can both go on Google and search for the pronunciation of this word, because I have no idea. Great. So I want you to understand that even native English speakers sometimes don't know how to pronounce words in their own language. English is my language, but there are so many words that I don't know. I've never seen before. Okay. So when you read a word or say a word that you don't know, am I saying that right? Or it could apply to names too, right? You might be working in like a call center or something. You could say, hi, is Mr. I don't know, Mr. Fitzgerald there? Am I speaking to Mr. Fitzgerald? Am I saying your last name right? Am I pronouncing it right? Or, so this is a really good thing to know. It's a good strategy to when you see words that you don't know. So I want you to tell me about a word that you used to pronounce wrong, but now you pronounce right. Okay? So if you're learning English, I mean, you're bound to have made pronunciation mistakes in the past when you were learning English. But you probably learned how to correct some of your bad pronunciation. So I want you to tell me, give me an example of a word that you used to pronounce wrong, but now you've learned how to pronounce it right. And hopefully photography is one of those words, because like I said, a lot of people say photography, or they put the stress either on the first, like photography, that's wrong. Photography, no, that's wrong. Photography, that's wrong. The stress has to be over the O, photography, the TO, photography. Okay, so just try to remember that. Don't make that mistake again. And I'll see you guys over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.